YouTube, what the crap's going on? This is Air of Carthage, and I have some awesome guests with me. I'll let them introduce themselves, so go on ahead.
Hey, it's me, Killfish.
Hey everyone, it's Majutsu.
Hello everyone, it's the Prussian Prince.
And the Rip here.
Alright, so what we're going to do today is a little bit of discussion to help you all out, so whether you're a new player or a more experienced player, no matter how much time you have in the game, hopefully this discussion will be helpful. And I've got my army roster pulled up here, and I'm in my veteran page, and we're going to talk about some of my veterans and the upgrades I gave them. And these players that I have with me are all experienced with tournaments and competitive play, and so they will give their input, and then of course, I'll give the reasons why I did the upgrades, and we'll have a nice discussion here, and hopefully even do a little bit of testing to show it to you. So let's get started. So I have quite a few monk cav veterans. I have about 6 of them. And some of you have asked me before, Air, how come you have so many veteran slots? Well, it's because I took advantage of the glitch back in the day, and I didn't take advantage of it enough. Unfortunately, I've only got 119. I should have jacked that up to about like 200 or 300 if I took the time. But in any case, I've got 6 monk cav veterans ranging in price from 912 up to, and I'm using trading post too, so it's going to affect the cost. Trading post reduces the cost by, what is it? Is it 10%?
4%.
4%. Okay, yeah, so it reduces the cost by 4%. They range in price from 912 to 1286. So we'll start off here, and I'll just tell you. So whenever I have like a lower rank one, I mainly just focus on attack and defense, and I'll kind of pass it down the line to you all, and let you tell me, like, so if you were gonna have monk cav, how many chevrons would you put on it? Like, so say my lowest one has I think the upgrades on it are just 1 attack and 1 defense at 912. It's not really worth much. And then my highest one has Warcry, let's see, 3 melee defense, a morale, melee attack. I put a bonus versus cav on it, and even a speed upgrade, thinking that might be helpful. So anyway, I'll throw the discussion to you all. Let me know what you think.
I think it's just worth it with the bonus versus cavalry, because without it, it will just lose to any Yari cav, even though the Nagi cav has the more defense upgrades and the 1 attack upgrade. You need the bonus versus cav, in my opinion.
So should I have traded that speed for another bonus versus cav, or do you think just 1 bonus versus cav is good?
2, I guess. So I only have 1 Nagi monk cav in my veterans, and it has 2 bonus versus cav, 1 Warcry for defense, and 1 attack.
We get into very controversial points from the very beginning.
Indeed.
Because I do not agree that level 6 or monk cav is worth it anymore with the 2 bonus versus cav. Just too expensive, and they still do not stack up against the level 2 Yari cav well. But that's just my opinion.
Well,
What upgrades would you use?
I would go for perhaps just 1 attack and some defense, so max level 4, something like that. But personally, at level 1 they're pretty good, just 1 attack. And then do not try to engage cav, or not directly at least. Just focus on infantry. That's what I would do with Nagi monk cav.
Well, from tests we did with Prussian Prince, and it was pretty decisive most of the time. If you don't pull through, somehow level 3 Warrior Monk Cavalry with 1 attack, 2 defense, it cost exactly like level 2 Yari Cavalry. And after counter charge, it actually wins like 70% of the time. In prolonged melee fight, they win. So really, if there is no if you can't really micro them well, if you can't pull back charge again, Naginata Warrior Monk actually can win at level 3 at the same price.
True. That's true.
Though the problem is that they do not have the same speed, so you'll often find most of the competitive players using Yari cav over monk cav just because of the speed difference. And the other thing is, well, personally, I would use monk cav at level 1, though I think they still might be worth it at level 3. It's some sort of hybrid between level 1 and level 6 some sort of compromise.
Yep, that's what would go for. But then again, having the war cry at level 5 or so, that's also pretty nice.
So let me ask you all this. Overall, from let's talk first amateur perspective. So you're just playing through, random matchmaking. Monk Cav, what would you use it for? And then competitive, would you use it? And if so, how would you upgrade it? And I'll just let each of you speak to it. So I'll let you go in order there and tell me what you think.
Personally, I like the Monk Cav because you can also dismount it, and because it loses no attack and also no defense, so it's also a very tough melee unit. Yeah, that's the reason why I use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, I can see your point there. Personally, as for a beginner perspective, they are pretty good because you don't have to look after them so much. When they're in combat, they will do okay. They will not do exceptionally well, but they will stay for a long time in the battle because of high morale, good defense. For competitive play, though, like Prussian Prince said, I would go for speed over just the Monk Cav, so Yari Cav or Light Cav.
Yeah, there's also a problem that the Monk Cav suffers so much from the charge of a Yari Cav, so whenever I use the Nagi Cav, I try to absorb the charge of any other Cav with a Light Cav or so. Because, yeah.
That's
But
a good
that's
way
difficult.
to... Yeah, that is pretty difficult.
Russian?
Personally, if I bring them, I usually bring them level 1 because they're cheaper than a level 2 Yari Cav, and they still have quite decent attack values and high morale, so I could use them for just to bolster my Cav force at a cheaper cost than vanilla Yari Cav or level 2 Yari Cav, because I don't use vanilla Yari Cav just because of its they have too low melee stats, I think, so I don't think it's worth it. I prefer level 1 Monk Cav to that.
Well, from amateur perspective, if you see how much most of the beginners play, they usually go for very defensive cavalry use. And in that scenario, Warrior Monk Cavalry is definitely very good. Because if you don't plan to use your cavalry to run around to really use that speed offensively, you're just okay keeping that cavalry behind your line and just charge when you need it. And I really think it's pretty good at 10k battles, just because it's a good compromise between Yari's cavalry and Katana cavalry. So it's decent unit, but it has one problem. Majutsu didn't say why he really needs the speed, and that problem would be mounted gunners and Donderbars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yari cavalry is as fast as light cavalry, and because of these two shooting units, Naginata warrior monks become not so useful. They can't catch it. So they would be kited all day and they would be destroyed in the end.
Yeah.
That's the main problem.
Allow me to add on to the Monk Cav discussion. I think that a beginner might find it more useful to use Monk Cav instead of Yari Cav, just because it is more forgiving. Because with Yari Cav, you have to... It's more important to pull out and
Pull
charge
back,
again. Yeah, so there's less micro necessary to make Monk Cav effective.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, good discussion. I like that. Let's for me, my original thinking on the Monk Cav. Of course, this was back before mounted gunners entered the game, I believe. They came before mounted gunners did, because they came on the Eco Iki pack, I think. So in any case, yeah, I liked them because, like what Zarib said, they were a nice middle of the road unit. I could use them to hurt sword infantry pretty bad, and they were decent in the cav fight. But the field has changed quite a bit since then. So great discussion there. Obviously, the shooting units are a big pain for Monk Cav. As far as my Yari Cav go, I got a bunch of Yari Cav veterans. I started using them a while after. I used Monk Cav a lot for a while, and then I switched back to Yari Cav because I found that their charge and bonus versus cavalry was pretty decimating. And then almost all of my Yari Cav, I upgraded the charge to 35, and my original thinking was, hey, I'll upgrade the charge, and then they'll just decimate an enemy unit on the charge, and if I could decimate the Monk Cav badly enough, they would still win the fight, even though their attack and defense was lower. So generally, most of my Yari Cav are right around the 1,000 to 1,050 range, and they have 11 attack. Well, unless I'm using retainers. I don't remember if I have the retainers turned on right now. I don't think I do. But so it was, I think I did 2 attack upgrades. Some of them had a melee defense upgrade and then 2 charge upgrades. And my idea was to flatten someone on the charge and not really worry about defense for prolonged melee. So I'll turn that over to you all and let you tell me and the viewers what you think.
Yeah, personally, I prefer Yari Cav either level 2 with 2 attack upgrades or level 5 or 6. So the 2 charge upgrades, honestly, I've never tested it, so I can't give a fair response to this. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, Killifish, on level 5, what do you take?
I give them 2 attack, 2 defense, and 1 attack with clan tokens.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so what I do for Yari Cav, I personally have a bunch of them, ranging between level 2 and level 8, just to fit them in an army when I just have 50 Koku left or something like that. So I also go for attack for level 2 ones, and then I start adding defense, and then also more attack, and for my level 8 I add 2 extra morale, so to make them a second fire cav. That's how I upgrade them. I do not upgrade charge. I did in the past, but I'm not entirely confident if that's better than defense. That's it. That should be, yeah, we need to test that.
Well, we'll just go into a match here in a minute and test it, because I've got my charged veterans and you guys have the others, so once we get done discussing, we'll go test it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Personally, I think level 2, level 4, and level 6 are what I would take, but I only use level 2, level 6. I prefer to have either cheap and effective Yari Cav or like the strongest you can get. And for level 2, I think just because of their low defense, it's more effective to charge them in and charge them out. Although, because yeah, they have low defense and low attack at level 2, and it's just a cheap and very reliable and effective unit at level 2. At level 4, I'd go with 2 attack and 2 defense. I wouldn't bother with morale or speed at this level. I think it's better to get melee attack and defense first. Level 4, it's a compromise between level 2 and level 6, and you could.
But you still don't use them.
Yeah, I don't, but I think it's a good unit.
You should start using them.
Zrib, any final thoughts on the Yari Cav?
Well, obviously, as everyone can see, it's level 2 Yari key is mandatory in any roster, just because it's cavalry dominating unit. Like you can just take a lot of them. Now, when it comes to high upgrades, I have couple of level 6 ones. So for melee attack, 2 melee defense. The problem with charge, I believe, for most of the players, when you play a lot, you start noticing how random charge bonus is. So sometimes with 25 bonus, you can kill more than with 40, for example. So, and most of players who play competitively, they prefer to control the game. They don't want to rely on random factor. And that's why probably no one really even tries to go into charge. It's very random. Another thing, like whenever I see Yari Cavalry upgraded past level 6, I'm getting a bit itchy because you're getting into Great God zone already, I mean, in that price range. And if you want such an expensive cavalry, just take 2 vanilla Great Gods.
No, I don't agree. Because you need a retainer for that. So that's
Yes,
the
you need, but they still would have aura. They
and
would
speed.
have.
They don't have the speed.
Yeah, but such an why would you take such an expensive cavalry unit? It only for one reason, to deal with other melee cavalry. That's the only point, and that's where fire cavalry and great guards perform much better.
Well, a high-level Yari Cav can do a lot of damage to infantry as well.
Yeah, but it will not do level 9 Yari cavalry will not do more damage than level 6. It just will not.
Perhaps, but the reason I put it to extra morale in there is that when I pull out, I'm less likely to make the unit route, because when you pull out your cav, you're at risk of that cav unit routing.
Well, probably it makes sense, especially if someone doesn't use leadership gem. Then it makes additional sense. But here, of course, we have one more variable in equation, and it's fire cavalry, but let's leave DLC units for later, I guess.
Yep. All right. So yeah, there's a lot of differing opinions there. It'll be fun to test it out, and I think that in the end, you're going to have some degree of randomness on the charge, obviously, that you can't overcome. And I was in the impression that, the charge is usually something that, and back in the day, you saw me upgrading my charge on my sword units and stuff too, because I thought it was going to be great. Because when you test it on rice fields and you just go head to head, it works. But like you said, when you're in a match and stuff, you just never know how that's going to come or whether or not you get a clean charge. And so it definitely made me rethinking, charge upgrades on lots of units. So in any case, let's move on to Bocav. I've got a range of Bocav. This was one of my favorite units as well until mounted gunners came around. I still like to use them as much as I can in just random matchmaking, but and I've seen them in some competitive play. I have my most cost-effective ones that I set up, and you could do it even a little bit cheaper. I set up some Bocav with just, let me get into the stats here. I've got 2 reload, 2 accuracy, I turned on extra ammunition, and I've turned on swooping crane, but that's only just to test it out. You could leave that off and I think save another 50 koku and end up with a fairly cheap unit that actually has some pretty amazing shooting stats. I think your challenge is going to be in a world of mounted gunners, especially if someone's got like a 125 range, your bows aren't even going to fire before they come in and pop a volley on you, and you're going to be in trouble. So it gets pretty difficult. And then, of course, I find these guys to be very useful against Ashigaru, monks. Not so useful, obviously, against heavier armored targets, but fun harassment unit, and that's generally what I use them for.
Yeah, me too, actually. I gave them 2 accuracy and just 1 extra ammunition, and don't give reload speed, because actually it's just a Harris unit, and I think reload speed is not that important on them. So, but I also have some bowcast with range upgrade, and these guys are really tough. They have 90 accuracy, 50 reload, and they can kill so fast and so much.
You mean 175 range?
Yes.
Yes, I had one as well back in the day. The 175 was pretty nice because you could pick around at this was back in the day when people were using archers more. You could actually skirmish decently with the archers from a distance, and they wouldn't be able to hit you very well.
Yeah.
So what I would do with Bocav, I don't use them that often, but I actually would not bring any upgraded Bocav. Just bring vanilla ones. And the reason for that is I don't rely on Bocav for killing. I rely on Bocav for annoying my opponent and to make him make mistakes. So I don't need a high-level Bocav to do that. And actually, the most skills I get with Bocav isn't actually from the arrows, but I used to charge them. I use them to charge in the rear or charge matchlocks, bows, whatever.
Yeah,
so,
like a light cav or so.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where their usefulness is in more than in actually killing people with their bows and arrows.
Well, I think if you use bowcav in a very fast game, so you know that your opponent will bring a lot of cav, I think bowcav is not that good in such a scenario. I think bowcav does best in slow games, so a lot of skirmish is going on, and so yeah.
Oh, definitely. Like in the high level games right now, it's very popular to bring skirmish cavs, like bow cav, mounted gunners, whatever. But people to counter that bring a lot of melee cav, and that's bow cav are useless against melee cav.
Yes,
It's a really fast game.
For those who don't know, bow cav cannot outrun Yari cav or light cav, so it becomes pretty difficult. I think you can upgrade the speed and they can get close, but I think you get caught eventually.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
At some
You
point
have
at
to
least.
stay closer to your forces.
So for the way I upgrade bowcav is I just give them extra ammunition. I think that's just enough. In case it becomes a long skirmishing game and you might run out of ammo, so I think it's just a safe 50 Koku investment, just in case it would be a long drawn out game. You could also do it like Killerfish does it, with the extra accuracy, but I think it's just safer to keep them level 1 with extra ammunition, personally.
What you could also do is to give them just two accuracy upgrades. So they are still very cheap, but they have a very good killing rate.
Well, actually, while we're talking about bow cavalry, Majutsu, I think, can say a couple of words about mounted samurai, which he brings sometimes. It's a very related discussion.
Okay, we're jumping to mounted Sams right away. Mounted Sams, they have less men and they are in loose formation constantly, but the one thing they have is they have a higher bow damage stat, just a base bow damage stat. So that means every volley of arrows they release has more chance of actually delivering a killing blow. So, and against higher armored units. So if you want to go for the kills with bow cav, or just mounted Sams in this case, then yeah, I would go for mounted Sams.
And, well...
And they have higher melee stats as well, so you can throw them against light cav and they will do okay.
Yeah.
And they actually feel the role that Majutsu described, to annoy opponent better because they cheaper. They almost 100 Koku cheaper, so...
But
really,
it's harder to charge matchlocks and bows though, because they have less men, so
yeah.
you can't afford much losses.
Well, personally, I usually don't bring bow cavalry, I bring one mounted samurai, and the only reason is I kinda don't like bringing mounted gunners myself on ladder games at least. And I still need some tool to annoy enemy matchlocks and sort of fend off enemy mounted guns just to keep them away until my force come closer, if I'm rushing, for example.
Yeah.
You don't really need to kill them. You just need to buy yourself time. Most of the time.
I think that...
So one other trick I used to use with bow cav that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen it in use much, but back in the day, I used to actually bring these guys to a battle. Now this was before mounted gunners again, back when I felt bows had a lot more viability, and I would bring these guys and just dismount them from the beginning of the fight, and they had amazing stats when they were on foot. In fact, they could almost beat a bow warrior monk if it weren't for the range disparity. So I don't know, have you all ever seen them used dismounted?
I've
Yeah,
heard
once.
about that, but haven't seen it.
Brave against
Oh, yeah, that game.
boss
But
icon.
I don't
It
think
actually,
they will kill bow monks at this point.
Yeah, they got stronger. But actually we got to this point where probably it's worse to say that generally bow cavalry and mounted samurai are much more useful than bow infantry in general. Just because they're cheaper. They're cheaper and they can kill some.
And
I guess
mobility.
Yeah.
yeah, they have mobility. And
That's
the
a
problem,
great point. I'm glad you guys brought that up. I'm sorry to jump in there, but that's... So I've been playing a bunch of games the last few nights where I've been bringing bows to see if I could kind of revive my old bows. And in a world of mounted gunners and matchlocks are just cheaper, and they're kill effective. And when I bring these bow units, like I played one match where my Daiki Samurai racked up 300 kills, and I still lost the match just because of the damage that was done to me by matchlocks by the time I could kill their matchlocks. And so I had to spend so much money bringing a Daikyu Samurai and the other ones that it just doesn't end up being cost effective. So like I mean I can murder 2 or 3 units with the one bow unit, and so I like what you said, Zaript, about the bow unit being cost effective and mobile, and I would definitely recommend that to my viewers. If you don't know how to use bows well and you want something to outrange matchlocks, I would prefer the bow cav almost every time, just because they're not so stationary as foot archers. They can move around and they can get shots quicker and from lots of different angles.
Yeah, and that's where they come in. They can charge the matchlocks. When the matchlocks are gonna chase the bow cav and they move up too far, you can just charge them. And with archers, yeah, you have to pull back. You can't do anything.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, good time to remind people there is a button on keyboard, F button, which changes your unit mode from melee to shooting, and it's actually pretty important to remember it. It helps a lot with bow cavalry. Because if you waste time trying to click that icon manually, it actually takes a lot of attention. It's much faster to just click F and charge.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's hurry and run through Katana Cav real quick, and then let's move on to a battlefield. We can all get in and spectate and just test a few of these. So, Katana Cav, and we'll talk about some of the rest of these Cav veterans like DLC and other stuff. I think in a separate run here. But the Katana Cav that I have, I've got some of these guys ranging from level 2 or 3 all the way up to my Apache's Pain Train, which is of course a very popular unit for my fans. It has a ridiculous amount of upgrades and probably isn't cost effective, but it's, I think, more of an entertainment unit at this point. So the upgrades I usually use is I'll just throw on some attack. Like you just throw some melee attack or even no attack if you get these guys in at the right. I think even vanilla, these guys can be useful. Now, one thing that I've noticed about Apache's Pain Train, it's got let's see, full melee, or almost full melee attack. I think I'm missing one clan upgrade. It's got 2 melee defense, a couple of charge, and on a charge, these guys will just absolutely flatten a light cav with almost no losses. But of course, most people who use light cav know I'm not going to throw away my light cav into a unit like that. But light cav can be dangerous, I think, to especially vanilla Katana cav. And I've actually used these guys to support the cav fight sometimes. Like, so for instance, I'll charge in like a Yari cav or something, and if I have a numeric cav advantage, I can get the Katana cav into the back of other cav, and they're actually somewhat effective whenever they don't take a charge. But of course, they're best against sword infantry and light units like matchlocks and bows. But I don't know. We'll just run through and let me hear what you all think about Katana cav and what you'd do with them.
Alright, I use the Katana Cav the same way as I used the Nagemon Cav. I just did dismount them with 4 upgrades, for 2 attack and 2 defense. So dismounted they lose 6 attack, I think, and also 8 charge, but that doesn't matter so much because they still have 20 attack and 12 defense dismounted. And they have katana swords, and they do actually even they do better than Nagi Cav in melee fight against infantry dismounted, of course. And that's the only way I use them.
So dismounted?
Yes.
Huh.
I used them dismounted in a video recently, and I mean they will really pwn units like Yari Ashigaru and any attendants, of course, and even some spear units. I mean they hurt them pretty bad.
Yeah. But the reason why I don't take them to charge sword units or so is because the Yari Cav does the same job, and it's faster, and yeah, for the same price, level 2, yeah, that's the way I use it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, let me, I just want to add, I don't know if it's true or not, but I think the thing with charge, when you charge spear unit or spear cavalry, which has anti-cavalry bonus, they will have first roll in attack, I believe. So that's why charge on Katana cavalry doesn't matter that much, because they will start killing one moment later, and it would be already too late to deliver real blow. Like, I mean, when you talk about fight against spear cavalry, if you're forced to do that, But against sword infantry, it would do good probably.
Okay, let me talk about how I use Katana Cav and what levels. Well, personally, I only dismount them when there is no other option, when my opponent only has spears, for example. And then only if I cannot deliver rear charges with them, because I like to keep my Cav mobile when possible, but yeah, sometimes you have to dismount them. And in terms of upgrades, I would go for attack first. If you want to make them higher level, add the defense, and then add the clan attack upgrades. And then you have a pretty beastly Katana Cav, to be honest. And they will just destroy any high level sword unit, and will even do a decent amount of damage to other Cav or spears. And they are great against melee gens. So if you know someone has a melee gen, bring a super high level Katana Cav, and they do fine.
That's what I wanted to say.
Oh shit, I stole yours.
It's fine. So, personally, I just keep them at level 2 with 2 attack upgrades. And that's just because of a personal way to play the game. Like, I can understand why others level them up to level 4 or level 6. But I use them at level 2 just because I want to invest more funds into the other parts of my army. I prefer to have more funds into anti-cav than just anti-infantry cavalry. And or just invest them into infantry. I just prefer to... And they just do really well against sword infantry, even at level 2, and they cause disruption.
Yeah.
Well, nothing much to add except for... can anyone tell me how fast they are compared to Naginata Warrior Monks? It's the same speed or...
You mean
like
Monk
faster?
Cav? Yeah, they're same as Monk Cav.
Okay,
I think
so
it's 10.
a relatively slow unit. But for people who kinda just beginners or lower level on ladder, if you unlocked Katana Cavalry, you definitely should use it more, because whenever you go against higher level opponent with more veterans, the only way you can really consistently deal with his superior infantry is Katana Cavalry. So I think it's unit a lot of people have to use. Because it really helped me when I was facing armies with like level 6 Nadachi, level 6 Katana Samurai, something like that. Because if you fight infantry fight fair and square, you would lose. So, and that unit for its price, and it's quite versatile when you dismount it, it's just worth it. It's less worth when you have a good set of veterans, because generally if you have decent micro and can pull out, Yari Cavalry really becomes your main tool when you progress and have a good set of veterans. But even vanilla Katana Cavalry at the beginning is very good investment.
Yep. So I love all the comments so far, and before we made this video, I don't guess I even realized how much there was to discuss. So we've got a lot to go through, and I'm sure we'll make more. Of course, it might require me getting up early on some weekends, because I think I'm the only one that's not in Europe right now. Then I believe, is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
I'm sorry.
The lone American here. So in any case, we'll have to keep this, because I really want my viewers and fans, and I get so many questions about this game, and of course so many of my viewers think that I'm like the best player ever, and I think that in all reality I know that's not true, and a lot of other people know that's not true. And regardless of whether you're the best player, there is a logic and stuff that you can use in this game. So like for me, for instance, I know that I'm not going to come out and like win a game of micro versus Prussian Prince or Majutsu or Killerfish. So if I was going to play them, I would pick an army to where my army is as forgiving as possible. That way, it's something that's better suited to my play style. And so I think that's one thing that's important to understand too whenever you're talking what units to use and upgrades, because I think you really probably have to discover your own play style and whether or not it's viable. And so for me, that was a big deal, was just kind of recognizing the fact that I'm probably not going to be able to out-click someone. So that's the reason why you'll see me use like Nagi-Sam a lot, because they're a somewhat forgiving unit. They're kind of middle of the road. If someone wins the Cav fight, I've got some recourse. My guys won't be easily destroyed by Cav. Those are things to think about too whenever you're, I think, a beginning player, and how you adjust your game. Anyway, I'll let everybody maybe just give some closing thoughts real quick, and then we'll head out to maybe rice fields and do a couple of tests.
Actually, I can't add anything right now. I don't know.
What I would add is that try to increase your Cav micro, because it's really important if you want to get better. And try using Yari Cav and Light Cav together, because that's a really good combo. That's what I use.
Just
Russian?
Actually, just join tournaments. That's my suggestion. And watch how people play, try to learn, and watch streams of tournaments, because we cast myself, Zript, and others cast tournaments. So you can learn a lot from those. You can see different types of builds. You can see spear builds, skirmish builds like Killerfish's builds, and essentially that's a very good way to learn to play the game. But it might be a little bit high level though. So
Well, if you talk about learning the game, it's actually pretty cool that a lot of tournament players start uploading live recordings. For example, on Killerfish channel, on Prussian Prince channel, you can see the stuff from their perspective, how they control their army. It may be pretty useful. I wouldn't consider myself a strong player, but there is some on my channel as well. But I don't know why we didn't talk about light cavalry. But
I guess I don't have any light cav vedits, so I didn't talk about it. I guess we'll have to hit it on another discussion or something.
The thing is, just one melee attack if you have veteran slots. If you don't, use it vanilla, but it's a great unit to just run around annoying the opponent. And I just want to add to Majutsu's point when he says that you have to learn to use your cavalry. And what I did when I didn't have anyone to play with, I was creating custom battles. Of course, it's classical battles, but I was picking 1 unit for 2 units of cavalry for me, 2 for computer, and play until I win all fights with all my units alive. Then I do 3 versus 3, then 4 versus 4. And my point was, until I get computer beaten without losing any of my units, I get them low, but I don't lose them. And that really increases your micro. Just that stupid training, it doesn't even take so much time, but it's very helpful. Because it's concentrated in big battle, you don't know why you lost. You don't know where you slipped. But here you control only cavalry, and you progress much faster, I believe.
Yep. All right. Some good thoughts there. I guess we'll hop into a battle, and then I'll start recording again whenever we get there to maybe just show you a couple of my veterans that we discussed, maybe versus some of the veterans that these guys with us have set up for their competitive play, and we'll just kind of see how it works out. So we'll see you there.
See you.
See you.
All right.